Okay, so let's go ahead and try to graph this one. So first thing I'm going to do is try to find my asymptote. So I'm going to try to find my horizontal asymptote. If I look at this, my x squared and x squared are my largest exponents, and then they're the same on the top and bottom. So I'm just going to look for the ratio of the coefficients, so just the 3 over the 1. So 3 over 1 is 3, so I'm going to get a horizontal asymptote of y equals 3. Okay, my vertical asymptote is again related to my domain, so I'm looking for my domain. And I'm trying to see, well, my domain in the denominator here, what would x not be able to equal? So I'm going to have x squared minus 2x minus 3 not equal 0. So x minus 3, x plus 1 does not equal 0. So x cannot equal 3 or negative 1. So my domain is at, which means my vertical asymptotes are at x equals 3 and x equals, I guess I should write twice, fine, x equals negative 1. Okay, so I got 3 asymptotes. I'm going to go ahead and draw them in. So I got horizontal asymptote at 3. Got a vertical asymptote at 3 on the x-axis and negative 1 on the x-axis. I can draw on my dotted lines to show that they're asymptotes. So I'm going to try to find some points so I can see where this line is actually going. It is going to follow the horizontal asymptote going out to negative infinity and infinity. So I really just kind of need to see if it lies above it or below it, because then it's going to start just following it. It's that middle that I'm going to have to do a few points to see what actually happens to it. So I'm going to go below. I'm just going to do a negative 3 maybe. Could sub it in up here, or could sub it into the factored form. 3x squared plus 6, I guess we could have factored that, but it's really not going to matter in a second. X minus 3, x plus 1. So if I sub in a negative 3, on the top, negative 3 squared is 9 times 3 is 27, plus 6 is 33. So I'm going to get 33. So here we go, set up a chart. So 33 over, on the bottom, negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Negative 3 plus 2 is negative 2. So positive 12. So 33 over 12 is a little bit less than 3. 36 over 12 would be 3. So it's going to lie somewhere there. So don't forget my horizontal asymptote is at 3. So if it's less than 3, it's going to lie there. So I'm going to go ahead now, just follow my asymptotes. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to plug in something greater than positive 3. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 5 and just see what we get. So if I plug in 5, 5 squared is 25 times 3 is 75 plus 6, 81 over 5 minus 3 is 2, 5 plus 1 is 6, so over 12. That is much higher than 3. So if I plug in 5, I'm somewhere above 3. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and plug in a few things that are in the middle. I'm going to plug in 0. Be nice to know where my intercepts are. So if I plug in 0, 0 squared is 0 times 3 is 0 plus 6, so 6 on the top, and negative 3 on the bottom. So that'd be negative 2. So 0, negative 2 would be there. Could try to find my x-intercepts. But I don't really want to find my intercepts. I just really kind of want to see how it goes. So I'm going to plug in a 2 and see where it goes on this side of the y-axis. So I'm going to plug in a positive 2. If I plug in a positive 2, I'll get 2 squared is 4, times 3 is 12, plus 6 is 18. 2 on the bottom, 2 minus 3 is negative 1, times 3 is negative 3. So I should get negative 6. So somewhere down here. So on this side, it should be going that way, following my asymptote. I just need to find out how it's going on the other side. So I'm going to plug in a negative 0.5. So I'll go over here to do that. So negative 0.5. If I plug that in for my x, Negative 0.5 squared would be 1/4 times 3 is 3/4. Plus 6 would be 27/4 over 0.5 minus 3 is negative 2.5. 0.5 plus 1 is 1.5. So actually the only important thing is I get a negative. Why is that the only important thing? Because that means it's going back down. If I had gotten a positive number, especially when it was above 3, that would have meant that it was going through this. But because I got a negative, that meant it had to go back down. So I had a positive on top and then a negative on bottom, so it had to go back down this way. So this is what my graph of this should look like. It really is just graphing your asymptotes and then trying to do a bunch of points to see where stuff lies.